What up, everybody, it's your boy, just want to get back with another video. Okay, so this video is going to be about a personal, very terrifying paranormal experience of mine. This one happened when I was 8 or 9 years old. I'm not specifically sure, I think, but I was in the 8 or 9 years old range. May have been 8.5, may have been 9.5, I don't remember. But, see, I'm going to go small detail, okay? So one of my one of my uncles is a rabbi, okay? um, or one of my uncles, yeah, my great uncle or someone is a rabbi. I don't remember him because I have only seen him once or twice after this situation because my mom and dad will never trust him again. Um, and that's not what I mean. It's not something dirty. It's something downright terrifying. Okay, so my uncle is a rabbi, and I think my parents were going out, not going out. I was think he was babysitting me. I'm not sure which the situation anymore. It was a long time ago. Um, it was a long time ago, and I was doing what's it called. I think I used to play with my cousin a lot though. I do still hang out with my cousin. I talk to him on Facebook sometimes, his son, but not him anymore because of what my parents would happen. So anyways, I was sent there because my parents had to do either there was a date night or it was a night where they just wanted to not be in the house, okay? Something like that. I don't know. And I think he would watch me, and I actually liked hanging out at his house. He had a big house. We watched movies a lot. I got to do other things I wouldn't be able to do at my house, like go on a computer, because we only had one computer in my house at the time. Actually, we had two computers, one at my house, one at my grandparents' house, but their computer was very old. Ours was kind of new, but I only went on it for two things. One time, I used to go on it for, what's it called, like, YouTube? No, not YouTube, Toonami, website, which you can watch anime on, and then some other stuff. Anyways, as a kid, so I went to his house, and, so my uncle's a rabbi, and he's not just no ordinary rabbi. He actually deals with the Kabbalah, which if you don't know Jewish studies, maybe most of you don't know it. The Kabbalah is like our version of occultism in a way, but not occultism. It deals with the mystical side of Judaism. So, like witchcraft and the scary legends and stuff like that would all be in the Kabbalah, the book of Kabbalah. It's basically, as a show said in American Dad, there's an episode which I really like that episode. It's called The Bar Mitzvah Hustle. It's a very funny episode. I actually love that episode a lot. There's a joke. It's basically the guy says, "Why don't you do Kabbalah?" It's basically Judaism after dark. It's basically what it is. That's how he said it, but it's basically what it is. It's Judaism after dark. But the part he pertained to, my uncle, was the Jewish rite of exorcisms. Yes, he was basically a Jewish licensed exorcist. Meaning if someone in your family was possessed by a dybbuk or a demon, a dybbuk is basically a Jewish word for a demon, but it's not a demon in our eyes, it's more like an evil spirit, but if you go by the Christian religion, it'd be called a demon. Anyways, if he was possessed by a demon or a dybbuk or whatever you want to call it, they would bring him to my uncle and he would help him. So I was at this house and it must have been maybe like, was it 6 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that? And we get a huge knock at the door. And I'm the one that has to open. My job at the house while I was playing was that I also like worked as a little bit as my uncle's assistant. What I mean by that is like if he was in a study and he was reading something, I was supposed to open the door and like sit everybody down and talk to them and like that and wait for my uncle to get done what he's doing. So I opened the door, and as soon as I opened the door, I kind of felt like I regretted opening it because two men and brought a woman in. No, a 20-year-old boy. Okay, a 20-year-old man, and his eyes were there was no like pupil. Like it was like white. Okay, and he was speaking like a language that I didn't know it was until I later realized, or from watching horror movies and watching scary and watching actual positions on YouTube is that he was speaking Latin, which I didn't know Latin yet at the time. I could barely read Hebrew, and people asked me actually in a comment before, because I talked about this in another video, not in my video, but another channel. What is a Jewish exorcism like? I'm gonna tell you. If you have an experience with Jewish exorcism, I envy you so much. Just like I said with my Black Eyed Kids experience, it is the most freaky and the most terrifying thing. So imagine a Christian exorcism, double that by like by tens, by 20, times that by 20. That's how terrifying it is, because it's a lot more violent in my point of view. A lot more cursing that I've heard. I mean, my uncle was called a. I'm not gonna say it, but it was some very colorful language, and I'm thanking God that I never have repeated the language of this 20-year-old boy who was possessed by I don't know how many demons. I think my uncle said there was like 6 demons inside of him, which is a big deal. And when my cousin, so here's how my thing worked. I never been at his house during an exorcism part. So I was told to stay in my cousin's room, which was on the upstairs. But the problem was the exorcism was taking upstairs as well. So we had to stay upstairs and in a locked room. My cousin doesn't have a bathroom in his room. Okay? So one day I had to go to the bathroom so bad. I really did. I had to go to the bathroom so bad. And it was like 2 hours into the exorcism. And I'm telling you, I have never heard. I still hear it sometimes at night. That boy screaming. It was like 6. Imagine like basically imagine any exorcism movie times that by 10. It was horrifying for me. I think the most horrifying part was when they had lost the grip of basically the people were holding the guy down, and they lost the grip. And I am peeing in the bathroom, which is right next to where they perform the exorcism, which is in my uncle's room. And the boy full on speeds towards me. And thank God for my uncle, because he played football as a kid, as an adult, and in college, and he still did, and he played a little bit with his friends. And he full on linebacker tackled the dude and like put him like like a police officer stands with his hands behind his back, and picked him up and ended up tying him to the bed. But I'm telling you, if I wasn't peeing already, I started to when it happened. Like I said, it's a little shaky in my memory, so I'll just tell you what goes on. He basically calls the dude basically is like keeps screaming at him, and it's like speaking in all these languages. Then he starts in Latin, then he goes into ancient Greek. From ancient Greek he goes into I think it was Spanish, I believe. And then from Spanish he goes to Russian, and then from Russian he goes to German, and then finally this guy goes into Hebrew. And my uncle is praying in Hebrew, and he keeps saying it, and he would break from praying in Hebrew and say, "Demon, what is your name? Demon, what is your name?" You're like, if a demon says their name, it submits to the power of the exorcist himself. It submits to the power of the religious rite. I mean, they basically start to lose their power. And a demon's like, "You fucking something shit. I'm not gonna give you my fucking name." He said that in English, but with a very raspy and dark voice. And I'm starting to freak out, and all I'm doing is I'm just watching this because I'm too afraid to get up and move. Now that I think back in, I probably should have just went back to my cousin's room, but I was so afraid. I didn't know what to do, so I just hid in the corner near the toilet and just waited for this to maybe for it to calm down so I can go back to my cousin's room. And I'm telling you, it was the longest 2 hours hour of my life, that situation. So, long story short, it's basically around 9 o'clock, and it's by this time, and my uncle is basically sitting there, is taking a break. They've gotten 3 of the demons out already, and like I said, he had 6 in them. So, I am still supposed. We actually had our dinner brought into our rooms and eat because we were not allowed to go outside. Go outside. So I ate my dinner in my cousin's room and I stayed in there for the next 2 hours. By the time my mom came to pick me up, which was the next morning, because I think they had something to do or something. I don't remember what they were doing, guys. Okay, it's a long time ago. I can remember back to when I was 3, but I can't remember what happened that night, okay? All I know is I had to stay over at my cousin's house. But I'm going to tell you this for sure. When my mom came home, she must have sensed something was wrong with me because my face when she saw me, she says, Josh, it's like you've seen a ghost. And I just ran into her arms and I started hugging her and I started to cry. I bawled crying. And she told me this later on, but she always said to me what was wrong. I asked her a long time back. It was 2 years ago. I asked her, why did I start crying? Or not why did I start crying? I said, why did I? She said what was wrong, and what did I say? She said basically what I told her what happened, and she was furious with my uncle. By the way, this was like one of my uncles, but he was like he was an uncle, but like he wasn't my, how I explain it. It's hard to explain, but he's not my flesh and blood uncle, as you can say it. He's more as a big family friend who married into the family. So technically, he is an uncle, but he's not an uncle. Okay. So I'm walking down, and I'm not walking down. What am I fucking talking about? I'm crying, and I don't know what to do, and then my dad comes in, and he's like, "What's going on here?" And I run to my dad because as a kid, I always knew if I was with my dad, I was safe because my dad's a very strong man. Okay, I mean he looks like Popeye sometimes. That's how strong he looks like. He might have a gut like me, but he looks like Popeye if you piss him off. He is like Popeye. Actually, I have some of his traits too. My dad, I'm pretty strong myself. Um. Anyways, but I ran to him and I started crying and I told him what happened. And I think my uncle doesn't not mad at me for what I did, but I don't think he was happy that I basically told what happened. And because what he had was it's like what doctors have, patient confidentiality. And I told him technically I broke that, but I wasn't part of the procedure, so I wasn't on the patient. I couldn't be hold to what happened. So long story short, my uncle cursed my mom and my uncle dad have a very, very big, long discussion. My dad curses my uncle out a lot during that discussion while me and my cousin are in his room. All I remember was this. My dad said, "This is the last time we're ever allowing you to watch Joshua, your Jimmy," which was my cousin's name. Oh no, yeah, Jimmy was my cousin's name. Jimmy said, Jimmy's allowed to come over. He's fine, but you can no longer bring. We are no longer allowing Joshua to come over here after what happened, because that's something an 8-year-old should not have to witness. Not or 8-year-old or 9-year-old. I don't know what the thing was. The thing I said 8-year-old had to witness that, and I'm telling you guys, I think I thanked my parents later on in my life for that. Because I've heard that my cousin now is very, how it's not say screwed up in the head, but after a situation later on, when another situation, he actually had to go for psychic evaluation because of what he saw. So yeah, for what he witnessed during his. So I'm glad I never have to witness something like that again, and I'm happy that I've never been possessed, and I don't want to be possessed. I don't want to go through an exorcism because people can die through that shit. And I don't want to die. I want to stay alive. I want to get married. And I want to have kids. And I'll tell these kids my stories too. But when they get to an age that won't I get screwed up my cousin, or it won't screw me up. Because I told you, I still hear that screaming at night. When maybe in the darkest part of my mind, I can still hear it. Anyways, so like I said, guys, be cool, like, comment, subscribe. I'll be back with another video tomorrow, most likely. Maybe not tomorrow, then if it's not tomorrow, it's Wednesday. Stay cool, like, comment, subscribe, and tell me in the comments below what do you think about exorcisms and all that.